And joining me now with more reaction to President Obama's first overseas trip and a whole lot more is the author of Liberty and Tyranny, a conservative manifesto. By the way, we just got news today. It is the #1 Nielsen BookScan bestseller of all books, all categories. And just moments ago, great one, I understand your book will debut #1 on the New York Times list. Congratulations, my friend.
Well, I want to thank the audience. I mean, they're just terrific.
Well, look, let's first of all get into this. There's one side of this story that I think people need to know. Mark, did you get a phone call from the New York Times, the Washington Post, from ABC, NBC, CBS, MS, what do you call it, LSD,
Right.
or any of these other networks? Did any so-called traditional media call you?
No, maybe it's because I block all their calls. You know, I have a special phone system where I can put their numbers in and block them. Obviously, they're not interested. As a matter of fact, on another network, MSLSD, they had a journalist who said that these conservatives are really in search of their original principles as if we're desperate. No, these original principles are pretty darn good if we understand them and use them and we're confident about them. And that's what the book is about.
Well, look, you talk about soft tyranny. I was with you at your book event in Long Island, New York. Mark, there were 8,000 people. One of the biggest bookstores was packed to the brim. It wrapped around the corner twice. 8,000 people showed up in Virginia at your book signing. We've got thousands of people showing up at these tea parties we keep talking about. Something is happening. What do you think it is?
Well, people are looking for answers. And the answers aren't that far away. And as a matter of fact, if we conservatives really understand why we're conservative, what it means to be conservative, that it's not stale and old, but it's the only way forward, it's the only way to slow this soft tyranny, then I think our people can get engaged and get confident. And that's what we need. We need a knowledge base. And then we can work it from the grassroots up and start taking over. Well, take over, maybe, but have influence in the Republican Party and win some elections.
Well, you know, this is the interesting part of it, Mark, and that is the thing that I love about the book the most is you not only talk about the Constitution, the Declaration, and not on a superficial level, but you go deeply into our founders and our framers, and you quote them, but also the great philosophers that inspired them. Have we forgotten these things?
Yes, we have. You see, we are told by our president day in and day out, we're told by the media, by academia day in and day out, by Hollywood, what a horrible society we are. This is a magnificent society. Just look around you. I talk about this all the time. Look at all the magnificent things we have, whether it's health care, whether it's the automobile, and yet look what they attack. They attack these industries, they attack our innovations, they attack our way of life. We have to explain to the American people, look at what you have. Look around. You're taking it for granted. People who come here see it. We need to see it too. We need to fight those people who are really stale and old with their ideas and regressive and our throwbacks, and go forward with liberty and the things that undergird our society.
Well, but there's this constant drumbeat of demonizing. We demonize the pharmaceutical industry. We demonize the greatest medical system in the world. We demonize, quote, big oil companies. And this is the constant drumbeat. But if we're going to look at the single most competent or incompetent bureaucracy, it's the federal government. This is what I don't understand. You know, at least oil companies explore, extract, they refine, they deliver a product. They make a profit. The government, they tap into every gallon of gasoline sold. They don't do a darn thing. Why isn't there more anger focused at the government?
Well, because people don't know. You know, we have teachers and professors who get a sinecure from the government, and for the most part, the rule, not the exception, is that they advance the government agenda. We see it in all walks of life. The fact of the matter is that you don't lose your liberties from GM or the oil companies or anything like that. They're not threatening your families or your faith. They're not taking your income involuntarily. Let me put it to you this way. Your labor represents parts of your life. You're only on this planet for a certain amount of time. And if you're working all this time and the government says, you know what, you get to keep 30 or 40% of your labor, we're going to take the rest through taxation and regulation, well then are you really free? And the higher that percentage goes up, How free are you? And that's our question to Obama and the other statists.
Well, let's stay with that, because you call it soft tyranny here. So now we've got the Obama plan, and I was asking this of T. Boone Pickens, but he only wanted to talk about oil tonight. But it's TARP, it's stimulus, it's omnibus, it's a $4 trillion budget, it's debt as far as the eye can see, and you know, I don't know what term to apply to it. You know, you say statist, you say soft tyranny. What term do you apply?
Well, in that particular case, I view it as economic child abuse. I've been calling it that for the longest time, because our children are being compelled to work for generations that will be dead, for money that's already spent. Their opportunities will be limited, their liberty will be limited, and we're enslaving them to a future that our ancestors didn't create for us. You know, one generation is supposed to pass a better generation on to the next. We won't be doing that. The government is so gluttonous that it's stealing the money from future generations in order to pay for benefits today. It's going to make us poorer. And I suspect that's exactly what Obama and the statists want. Because,
last question. The varying factions in the conservative movement, you got libertarian conservatives, you got the so-called intellectual conservatives. They think they're smarter than everybody else. Those that think we should moderate and move away from Reagan conservatism. You know, isn't this one of these moments where all these factions ought to put aside their petty differences and unite, Mark?
Well, conservatism isn't about factions. Conservatism is about a moral order that undergirds our society. It is about individual liberty. It is about free markets. It's about national security. I don't view them as factions. While there may be some people who want to lead a faction, I don't view it that way. Reagan didn't view it that way. Right. Edmund Burke didn't view it that way.
But you addressed that in the beginning of your book, the competing factions.
That's correct. The competing factions mean nothing to me.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to get across in the book is what is conservatism.
All right. By the way, last question. When you're on your radio show, this is the serious side of Mark Levin. But there's another side of Mark Levin. You know, we got the Mark Levin lexicon. Thank me. God bless us. Get off my phone, you big dope.
Right.
So is that all part of just one big package or what?
Big package? Well, it's part of my personality. I like to have fun, you know?
All right. Well, listen, it's debuting #1 on the New York Times. It's #1 in Nielsen Bookscan.